But we have breaking news here that might make some of you grin like a mule or a donkey eating briars. Nico Harrison has been fired by the Mavs. I don't know what Greg Cody is celebrating by throwing his hands up in the air. Why? What do you?
I'm celebrating because for 2 years now, this has been a story that only that city cared about. But it's somehow become one of the biggest stories in the NBA because he makes an unpopular trade. His fans won't get over it, and now all of a sudden they get what they wanted, and now all the fans are happy again because they have their scapegoat.
Just to be clear, the report is that he will be fired at a 10 a.m. Central meeting, which will be in 6 minutes.
Well, Shams Charania followed up that tweet saying the Mavericks are firing Harrison.
Just wanted to make sure
I am so annoyed, Dan. I am so annoyed because you can confirm. Everyone can confirm. Tony, confirm.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I'm sorry.
So
he should be annoyed. We got distracted with Greg Cody Kane talk, and Zaslow had this story
so annoyed.
Hours ago, Zaslow had this story. He came in here saying, he did say this. This is true. Shams is 2 hours late to this story. Zaz came in here today saying, I've got locked down. Nico's going to be fired.
I'm so annoyed. Tony, I said that, right?
You did. You said
no,
it.
you came in.
You don't like football, but you said it.
We didn't get to it because Greg Cody was weeping and hugging a piece of wood. And that's what but you had that story before that. Zaslow, the journalist. Zaslow, the insider.
Here's the thing about journalism. If you have a big story, you sort of have to break the news.
You're right.
You have to tell somebody that you know.
No, I did tell them. I didn't say it into the microphone yet.
He had it, and I got distracted. Look, I'm going to take – 100%, this is on me. Zaz has so much news. Zaz has so many journalism credentials. Zaz is spilling content. He told us before the show, hey, I got that Nico Harrison's going to be fired, and I didn't get to it. That's the God's honest truth. He was to this story 2 hours before Shams, and he said he had it locked down.
8:47 a.m. I looked at you guys, and I said, I'm going to mention on the show today that Nico Harrison is getting fired.
Yeah, it's a Shams that you never got to it.
I still don't understand why you threw your arms up in the air when Nico Harrison was fired as if you had won something.
No, because finally, I didn't predict it.
I'm
super
it would have been
baffled.
pretty
easy to predict, but I never predicted it.
That's not what Zaslow was doing. Zaslow was going to report it. He was not going to predict it. He won.
But then he never got around to
reporting
it.
We had graphics and that's true, but it's my fault. It's not his fault. It is absolutely my fault because, again, I was distracted by you hugging a piece of wood.
Pre-snap penalty by you.
I had to get to my take on false starts. It was more.
Could have fit in right there.
That would have been a good place to get to it, but instead I was railing for 9 straight minutes about the idea that there would be pre-snap penalties.
Nobody hates a false start more than you.
Had to talk about Jim Fix. Instead, I could have my name up there. Jonathan Zaslow was reported.
I broke the news he died running into a tree.
Hello.
Thank you.
Dan, I'm so annoyed.
No, you should be. I'm just still laughing at how right Greg Cody is.
Thank you.
At how good that hello is, because I want to show you the difference at some point between the first hello and the second hello, so you see how you peter out.
No, the second one's better. You put it on the
Hello.
We'll get to the second one in a second, but before Zaslow, I'm sorry. I want to publicly apologize to you, privately apologize to you. This one is all my fault. He had this story 2 hours ago. But what do you make of it now that it's so? Because rare as an executive, I was confused, Greg, by your take, something only people cared about regionally, whether a GM.
Yeah, that's not true.
We learned this man's name, and I would say the general public learned this man's name as a reason to laugh at incompetence. As a joke on the internet, the Dallas Mavericks, who used to be run by Mark Cuban, are now run by a buffoon as they go through an ownership transition because nobody ever in the history of sports makes this trade without at least calling around. It's not Anthony Davis, broken player for huge superstar in his prime. Lakers are going to be fine for 10 years if he stays healthy, and they have their transition out of LeBron. Nico Harrison is the face of sports executive incompetence. He's been running afoul of ownership here since lucking into Cooper Flagg, who's supposed to be a franchise player, but the Mavs don't look very good for a lot of reasons.
And his response to that was, I'm glad the fan base is finally starting to see the plan.
The plan to get lucky and get
They
a
had
guy
like a 1% chance.
he would have had that spot, by the way.
The plan. Look, he obviously deserved to be fired. The team is 3-8. He said the window to win is right now, which is why they're making the trade. And the guy that they made the trade around, the reason that they only called the Lakers and did not call around was because of everyone in the league. Nico Harrison identified Anthony Davis as the guy that he wants. And that guy never plays. He's never available. The team is 3-8. They're terrible. But here's also the thing now. The ownership is firing Nico Harrison, and it's like, holy shit. You allow the general manager to make a franchise-altering move. At the very least, you can argue that the ownership wanted him to make the deal. I don't believe that. But you do have to agree that the ownership has to sign off on the deal. So you sign off on that deal?
And as an added bonus, just so people understand sort of the reverberating historical context on this, it is the single most stunning and heartbreaking trade in the history of all sports in that market. There has been nothing close. There's nothing, a close second place to you allowed an executive who is now fired 18 months ago to make the single most stunning and heartbreaking decision in the history.
8 months ago.
In the history of the market.
Yeah, 8 months ago. You allow him to alter the course of your franchise, and then you don't let him see it through? Now, it never should have happened in the first place, but you can't allow him to make this move and then fire. It's not like you get a do-over on the move.
So, like, what do you see through? An Anthony Davis who doesn't look great, who's not playing. Kyrie Irving who's hurt. We don't know when he's going to come back. Cooper Flagg, who, okay, he's good right now, but let's see what it is. Like, how long? He said they've got a 3 to 4 year window.
If you're willing to say you got it wrong in such a short period of time, you can't allow this big of a move to be made in the first place.
If 8 months later he's worthy of being fired, that's not a person who should be in charge in the power structure of being allowed to do that. If 8 months later you're going to decide this person is not the person for the job,
it's crazy.
And so what ends up happening there, and this is the part that doesn't get talked about enough, like, you had an ownership change there that didn't have an appreciation for what the value of this asset was. And so they desecrated everything that Mark Cuban did there. Like, they just didn't understand what they were doing because they put a boob in charge and allowed him to make the most seismic trade and then becomes the fall guy for the economics of, you didn't want to give the guy you worried was going to be fat hundreds of millions of dollars.
I think this signifies what you don't see all that often, which is the power of fans. I think if the Dallas fans hadn't reacted as if their franchise had committed mutiny.
This is not the power of fans. This is the weakness of ownership. This is not the power of fans.
I don't think if those fans reacted the way they did, that he would necessarily have been fired right now.
The Dallas Mavericks had like a 20-year sellout streak at home. It ended last night.
Greg, I understand that the groundswell would have happened in any market with this superstar. Any market like this, Dallas is not a unique sports market. Any market would have been outraged by the everything of that.
Yeah, but this was sustained. This was 18 months later or whatever.
No, as he said, 8 months later, and I'm going to say it again to what Zaz is saying. Like, as a show of incompetence from leadership, the scar that this leaves on Dallas sports is permanent. You will rarely find in the future, you won't find in the past, something that will hurt the Dallas fan base like this to know that a bozo traded away a superstar in his prime who's never available, and 8 months later, new ownership decided that he was a bozo. Oh, yeah, you were right. Like, that's a level of leadership and competence that has very little precedent in a market. Like, you just don't get a superstar like that has that emotional connection of, oh, we get to watch the next 10 years of hope there. He's better than everybody. And we chose a GM over him and a player who can't play ever.
Play.
Hello.